Hi everybody, I'm Rob May. I will have met quite a lot of you and you will have heard me talking about cybersecurity and my messaging around the human firewall. And I think at the moment that's more important than ever. And I speak to you today not just as a visited speaker, but as Andrew said, I'm also a member. I run a business in my own right, and I'm dealing with a lot of the challenges that you're dealing with. And then I'm also the ambassador for cybersecurity to the Institute of Directors. And the purpose really of this session is just giving you some thoughts that you need to be discussing in your remote board meetings and team meetings that you're having. Because we are now, the majority of us are working remotely. And as Mike said, people have held back from that. And in some businesses, this has been the last taboo. And we've stormed through that, and we've jumped forward. And people are learning as they go, and business will be forever changed, and it will be forever changed for the better. But there are challenges that we need to consider. Because security is vital, and one of the things that you need to give consideration to is, what are you now allowing to connect to your systems? Some of you will have given staff work computers to take home, or they will have taken their laptops home or whatever. But for many of you, you will have simply said, do you have a machine at home? Do you have exclusive use to it? In as much as, are you going to have to share this with your spouse or your children or whatever? And then giving people ways to access it. What people haven't necessarily thought about is how secure is it? Because if you're now allowing somebody's home computer to connect to your corporate, we've got concerns in terms of how protected it is. And the very first rule of security is antivirus. And every machine's got to have antivirus. And that's true whether that's a PC or an Apple. And there are Apple users who believe that they're immune to viruses, and that's just not true. But also, some people have got free antivirus on their home computers. And that, in my opinion, really needs to be avoided. When it comes to free antivirus, you get what you pay for. And one of the things that you could do as a business, one of the things we do, is you take out a corporate license, and for all your corporate users, you also get free home user licenses. And that's a nice perk for staff. But also, the reason you're really doing it is to protect your systems and protect what we're allowing people to connect into. So give that some thought. And wherever possible, we need to be using multi-factor authentication. Most platforms now give you the option to turn on two-factor or multi-factor authentication. But lots of people don't do it. So even on things like your WhatsApp, many of you will be using WhatsApp in Teams to communicate now with your colleagues. Make sure you've got multi-factor authentication. People think that WhatsApp, for example, is a secure platform because the end-to-end messages are encrypted. However, just recently we had Jeff Bezos of Amazon. He was compromised, and the reason he was compromised was not because of WhatsApp, but it was because he hadn't got multi-factor authentication turned on. And this is true for Office 365. Just because you've moved to a platform in the cloud, and just because it's, a well-known named platform, doesn't mean that you can outsource security. You've got just as many security concerns whether your systems are in the cloud or whether they're on-premise. So look at every platform and every app that you use, go into the security settings, and make sure you've got that multi-factor authentication switched on. Um, the other thing that people often say to me is, well, we're okay because we're using a VPN. Well, a VPN's great. A VPN is a virtual private network, and a VPN is wonderful, but it's not all the security you need. The clue's in the name, virtual private network. A VPN is about privacy rather than security. And what it does is it creates a secure tunnel from your home worker's computer into the office or to the cloud. And that's great. And what that means is nobody can hack the tunnel and the data that's going from one site to another. However, if the end of the tunnel is insecure, so that's back to the home user who doesn't have antivirus, all that VPN is doing is opening up a secure tunnel or a private tunnel that's going to allow rubbish through it. So if you've got an infected machine, the VPN is giving you privacy, but it's not giving you security. So don't be fooled into thinking that just because you've deployed VPNs, you've got nothing to worry about. Unfortunately, you still have. Andrew talked about data. In fact, Mike did as well, in terms of when we return back to the office, what data have we got and where is it? And we all operate under the law that is GDPR, and GDPR governs the control of our data. And just because we're now working from home doesn't mean that those considerations have gone out of the door. So you need to, whenever your systems change, whenever your processes change, what GDPR says is that as a business, you should do a DPIA. So a DPIA is a data protection impact assessment. This is a risk assessment just like you're doing for all other aspects of your business. But it's a risk assessment specifically around your data. And you need to be spending some time right now just considering, well, what data have we now got and where is it? And if people are being forced to store data locally or in different systems, firstly, think about how secure is it? Think about how is it being backed up and have you got a backup? And then when we do return to another form of business in the future, think about how we bring that data back in and how we comply with the various regulations that are in place. I think another thing that we have to be aware of right now is our increased risk of spam, of phishing attacks, of malware. We've seen a huge increase in COVID-19 related malware. And just be careful on what you're clicking on. There's a whole load of clickbait out there. There's loads of it. You've only got to open up any social media platform and you'll see loads of trackers and heat spotters and so on. As far as I'm concerned, just go to the trusted sources. Go to, the trusted news sources. Go to the World Health Organization. Look at their information because there are lots of attacks. People are under pressure at the moment. They're stretched and they've got loads and loads of messages coming at them. I've never had so many emails in my inbox and so many different messages coming in. And the cyber criminals, unfortunately, are using that to attack. And they're even attacking the hospitals, the people who are trying to deal with the recovery, which is a horrible thing, but it is the reality. And one of the things that I would say to you is GDPR made it a legal requirement that all staff have cybersecurity training. And just another thought, if you've not yet done that, this is a perfect time, whilst you've got your staff working from home, and not all of them will be fully occupied, to do some of your compliance training. This just doesn't just apply to cybersecurity, but think about what other compliance training so that you're protecting yourself, but also making best use of the time when people aren't necessarily fully occupied. Thank you for joining us today. Really hope it's been useful, and I hope to speak to you before too long. Thanks very much.